Hey friends, so if you are just starting out with vintage hairstyling, or you want to start and you're really feeling overwhelmed with how to get started, what to do, how it all works, then absolutely stay tuned for this video. I'm going to give you some of my tips and tricks, some helpful advice, things that I wish I would have known when I started to do vintage hairstyling. And hopefully this will get you a little bit more confidence and get you a lot more information on where to start and get you on the road to fantastic vintage hairstyling. Welcome to Chronically Overdressed. I just want to take a moment to welcome you to my channel and say thank you so much for watching my videos. If you are enjoying them, please make sure that you subscribe and hit the like button. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you always get notified when I drop a new video. I post a video once a week on vintage style, fashion, and beauty. And don't forget to head over to my blog, chronicallyoverdressed.com. I post there also once a week, and there's typically different content than I have here on the channel. So make sure that you sign up for notifications on my blog as well. And if you would like to support my channel, you can do that by heading over to buymeacoffee.com/theglambasador. So I've been wanting to put together a video like this for a really long time. I get lots of questions in my Facebook group, the Authentic 1930s, 1940s Hairstyling, of like, how do I start in vintage hairstyling? What are the steps? What do I need to do? I get a lot of very frustrated, very overwhelmed people in my group, just really not understanding how to get started. And so I want to give this really basic overview of things that I would have loved to have known when I first started with vintage hairstyling. So I'm hoping that this will be helpful for you. If anything, I hope this opens up a bigger dialogue. So I really encourage you to leave comments, leave questions, join my group, join my hair group if you are just starting out and you're wanting some support, some additional information, so we can actually open this dialogue and maybe dispel some myths of how things are supposed to be done, or how difficult things are, or what steps to take. So I just want to really bring it back to basics, just to where to get started with vintage hairstyling. So some of this is going to be advice and kind of, bits of wisdom that I have learned over the years. Some of it is going to be like hard information about what tools to get, what products to use. It's not going to be a hair tutorial. I'm not going to actually show you how to do any hairstyles today. But hopefully this will be a good foundation for you to be able to start feeling confident and feeling comfortable with where to go with vintage hairstyling. I want to start off with something that I was actually recently reminded of by somebody that I follow on TikTok, that no matter what you are doing, it's a new skill, whether you're learning to sew, if you're learning to paint, anything that you're doing, learning to cook, learning how to do vintage hairstyling, you're gonna suck at it at first. You are not going to be perfect at it right away. It takes time, and it takes a lot of time sometimes to really feel comfortable, confident, and proficient in this new skill. You also need a lot of practice. You're not gonna do your first wet set or your first hairstyle and it's gonna come out absolutely perfect, exactly the way you wanted it the very first time. I've never heard that happen. It may happen, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there that could tell me that yes, this happened to them. But in my experience, that has never happened. So give yourself some grace. You need patience, you need practice, you need time to continue to do the techniques and learn the techniques and learn how your hair is going to react to different things. So it is so important to understand that first and foremost, that you're gonna suck at it and you need to give yourself grace and time and not just give up because it didn't turn out exactly perfect the very first time you did it. So one of the things that I did a lot when I was first starting to do vintage hairstyles was I researched a lot. Now, we didn't have the internet back then when I was starting out. So everything was just, you know, photographs and looking at old catalogs and just learning about, just seeing what kind of hairstyles were more reminiscent of the eras that I really liked. So it's really important to just to know whether you're going to do a historically accurate or completely authentic hairstyle. I think it's good knowledge to have what hairstyles were big in the 1930s, what hairstyles were big in the 1940s. And that's going to give you a good foundation of, you know, of where you want to go with your styling, with, you know, with the eras that you want to emulate. You know, if you love the 1950s, then absolutely start looking at all of the photos you can from the 1950s. Pinterest is fantastic for this. I highly recommend you start a Pinterest page, start a board that's just for hairstyles. You can section it out to the different eras if you want, or you can just have it all in one place. But it's a really great way for you to kind of collect your ideas of what you really like, what styles you like, what eras you want to emulate, and get you, you know, a really good foundation of what hairstyles are even available to you. One thing I will say that I highly recommend that you include a lot of kind of real photos of authentic people doing their hair. Not just Hollywood starlets, not just models, not just people who've had their hair done, because that kind of brings me to my next point of learning how to do your hair for yourself rather than what you know, a hairstyle that maybe a hairstylist would do for a model or for an actress. One of the things when I started to watch YouTube channels to learn how to do hair was really frustrating to me was, at the time, it was mostly hairstylists who were doing hair on other people. And while it was helpful and it was nice to watch, you know, videos of stuff like that, it was really hard for me to translate that into how I was actually going to be doing my hair, where to place my hands, you know, and like finger waves. Being able to do finger waves on yourself is, you know, all the way across your head is almost impossible. You need a second person for that. And that's actually what was, you know, was happening usually at the time. It was mothers, sisters, friends, all of, you know, they would get together and they would do their each other's hair. And that's with research, you start to realize that, you start to understand that. But it was really important to me to see photographs of real women, people in real life doing their hair or having their hair style, so I could see like, okay, this, you know, this person, this young person, this mother, whatever, has this hairstyle, which means she's done it herself. You know, she may have gotten it set at the salon, but she's doing her own hairstyle pretty much every day. So it's important to understand the difference and to really get that in your mindset that yes, we love these beautiful Hollywood photographs and of these, you know, gorgeous hairstyles, but those are pretty much always going to be done by somebody else, by a hairstylist with maybe one or two assistants on the side. So for me personally, that's my group really focuses on the authentic hairstyles, things that we can do on our own rather than the, you know, super elaborate hairstyles that are done by master stylists. My biggest advice to anyone who is starting out with vintage hairstyling is to master the wet set. That is going to be your foundation for every single hairstyle that you ever want to do. That also helps you to, it'll help you get the muscle memory, the curl tension, and the tension memory, which I'll get to in a second, to be able to get these hairstyles that you want, the curl patterns that you want. It really does help you to understand your own hair. When you're doing a regular wet set, you really start to know what your hair texture is like, what its limitations are, what its strengths are. And that is really, really important when you're doing these kinds of vintage hairstyles. So being able to be proficient in a wet set and understanding your hair and how the curl patterns are going to work, how your hair reacts to a set, how long it takes for your set to fall, all of that is really, really important for that foundation of any kind of hairstyle, a vintage hairstyle that you want to do. With that said, I highly recommend doing a wet set rather than a heat set, although you can absolutely play around with that as well. But the wet set is going to give you a much longer lasting curl. It's more authentic than a heat set, unless you're doing strictly 50s styles, 50s or 60s styles. That's when the hot rollers really came into play. But a wet set is really going to give you that more authentic curl than a heat set is. And then within the wet set, you can either choose to do a pin curl set or you can do a foam roller set. Highly recommend you watch my wet set video. I really go into the science behind why and how a wet set works, and how it's going to help your curls last a lot longer than doing, say, like a damp set or a dry set or even a heat set. As far as tools are concerned, it really depends on what kind of set you're doing. If you want to do a pin curl set, then you need pin curl clips or bobby pins. If you're doing a foam roller set, you can get the regular foam rollers or you can get pillow rollers, whichever are more comfortable for you. And you're just going to need really 2 brushes to start off with. So for your brush out, you want something like this. This is my Denman brush. I highly recommend this. It is an amazing brush. It totally helps with your brush out. It gets all of the curls nice and formed. And then you want a rat tail comb. You definitely want something that has this tapered end, because this is going to help with sectioning. You can actually get in here, like if you want to do a little bit of height. And then I actually use this for all of my teasing. I don't use a teasing brush. So to start off with, just a brush like a Denman brush and a rat tail comb. Those are really the only tools that you need for your brush out. Now, whether you're going to use the bobby pins for your pin curls or not, I still highly recommend getting bobby pins. They are really going to be very helpful for doing most hairstyles that you want to achieve. So there's a lot of other products that you can get on top of, all of these to do other hairstyles, but really your basic, kind of your basic purchase is going to be the hairbrush, preferably a Denman, a rat tail comb, bobby pins, and if you're going to do pin curls, you can either use bobby pins or pin curl clips, or you can get your foam rollers. And with foam rollers, you want to make sure that you're getting enough. I use 33 foam rollers for all of my sets. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough packets. Sometimes they come in packs of 12, but I wouldn't get anything less than 20. And depending on how long your hair is, how thick your hair is, you may need even more like I do. Now, as far as products are concerned, again, you're not gonna need a whole lot. You definitely need a setting lotion. I have a recipe for my flaxseed setting lotion. It's very economical, it's very easy to use, or you can buy a commercial brand. Lotta Body is one that a lot of people like to use. Just make sure that you read the bottle to make sure whether you're getting the concentrated version and you have to add water, or if it's just, straight from the bottle. But definitely a setting lotion is going to help drastically with your wet set. The other product I recommend is getting yourself a pomade. Now, I use the LBCC Historical Pomade. A lot of people like Suavecita. It's going to be a trial and error thing, really depending upon your hair type and your hair texture. But a little is going to go a long way. It will help to combat some of the frizz. It helps with kind of solidifying the hair a little bit, gives it some shine. It's really helpful to have as just as a styling product to kind of help smooth everything down. Now, if you're someone like me that has naturally curly hair, you may need an additional like frizz serum or an oil to really help to combat the frizz. But if you have straight hair and you aren't prone to frizz, then you may not even need that. And then the last thing is a working hairspray. I personally love the number 13 from Kenra. It's a medium hold hairspray. I've also used L-Net. The unscented version is, for me, the best. You can brush it out. It's a workable hairspray, so it doesn't really solidify your hair so much. You can get one of those for, once your hairstyle is completed. I usually don't use that. I still just use my number 13 because it gives it, I don't know, it makes my hair, allows it to move around without being super solid. But a working hairspray, I think, is really important to have when you're doing any kind of brush out, especially if you're not washing your hair every day. You want something that's not going to be, leaving a lot of product on your hair. Okay, so one of the things that I found out when I was learning how to do my hair, took me years to find this out, and I actually had to talk to a hairdresser about it, was this idea of tension memory. So our hair actually remembers the curl patterns that we put in it. If you are doing it on a regular basis, your hair actually develops a memory of that curl pattern. So tension memory is a little different. Tension memory is also like how your hair parts. So your hair follicles actually will start to grow in that position. So, you always have this part here, and you notice that your hair starts to kind of grow in that direction. And that's because your hair follicles are actually growing in that from the tension that you've put in there from your part. So this happens when you do your sets. If you do your sets in pretty much the same pattern, I can stick my rat tail comb in any one of the sections that I normally do, and it just kind of automatically glides right in there because there's that tension memory of where that separation is. So knowing this will really help you to understand that, again, your first set that you ever do, the first hairstyle that you ever do, is never going to look exactly the same as your 100th hairstyle, because over time your hair is going to remember that style, remember that curl pattern, and it's actually going to go into that style and into that curl much easier. It's going to look a lot smoother. So your first couple of times of doing a hairstyle or doing a set are going to look different. You're putting your hair into a completely different curl pattern or setting pattern than it's used to. So having that knowledge, I think, is really important to, again, kind of give yourself a little bit of grace. Think about if you have a side part and you decide that you want to have a middle part. If you've ever noticed, as soon as you put your part down the middle, one side has a lot more height than the other side does. And that's because if I went straight down the middle, and this side is going to have a lot more height because it's going against that tension. So it's already creating a bit more height because of that. Whereas this side already falls over there, so it's a little bit less. It doesn't have as much tension to lay on that side. So whenever I do a middle part, I have to tease the crap out of this side to get it to match this side. So hopefully that will make you understand the idea of tension memory and curl memory. And it's also muscle memory. Our muscles have to build up for doing these hairstyles, doing your sets. I get constantly all the time, people are telling me, oh, my arms hurt, it's really hard for me. And yes, some people have, don't have the abilities to hold their arms up for that long due to, illness or what have you. And that's not going to change. But most of the time you are going to build up some sort of muscle memory of doing that process. So your muscles remember that, and it makes it a lot easier to do it on a regular basis. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is you're going to need to practice. You're going to need to do this on a regular basis. If you do a set once, say you have the set for a week, and then you go back to doing your regular modern hairstyles again for a month or so, and then you try to do the set again, you're starting all over again. So that muscle memory, that tension memory, that curl memory, that needs to be happening on a regular basis. So, I set my hair once a week. Some people can only, their set only lasts a couple of days. But I can guarantee you, if you continue to do it on a regular basis, you will be able to go longer and longer and longer. You're going to train your hair to be able to go longer and farther. Okay, so my advice to you is just keep practicing, keep doing it. You are going to suck at it right away. It's not going to be perfect the first couple of times. Get yourself a couple of snoods, get yourself some hair scarves, learn how to do tie a hair scarf, put on a hairnet, put on a snood for those days that it didn't turn out as well as you had hoped. But start really understanding and learning a wet set. You can do so many different hairstyles, very simple hairstyles, just from one wet set. I do recommend watching my Life Cycle of a Wet Set series. I have 7 full days, so you can actually see how my wet set evolves throughout the week, and I give you hairstyles to do. Most of them don't need a whole lot of experience. They're really simple hairstyles to do, but I do show you step by step on how to do those hairstyles. Well, I hope this was helpful for you, and please start a conversation, post your questions, post your comments below, and I will be more than happy to answer them for you. I have faith in you. I know you can do this. I know it can be overwhelming, but you have support, and it doesn't have to be as stressful and overwhelming as we think it is. It's really just take it down to the basics. Learn your wet set, learn how to do it, be kind to yourself. Look up inspiration, look up, get some research on there, get your basic tools. Don't overwhelm yourself with too many tools and too many products. I know it can be really exciting at first to want to get all of this stuff, but really start with just really understanding and doing the wet set and being proficient in your wet set. That is going to be the basis for every single hairstyle that you do. And feel free to join my Facebook group. We are there to help. We are there to support. And if you feel like you need a little bit more one-on-one, I do offer vintage style and beauty sessions through my blog. So I can help you with whatever hairstyle or even makeup or clothing issues you may be having. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Bye.